Everyone talks about summer like it's supposed to be carefree. But if this season brings up money stress, body stress, family stress, or social stress, that's real too. Growth therapy can help with that. Whether it's your first time in therapy or your 50th, Grow makes it easier to find a therapist who fits you, not the other way around. They connect you with thousands of independent licensed therapists across the U.S., offering both virtual and in-person visits, nights and weekends. You can search by what matters, like insurance, specialty, identity, or availability, and get started in as little as 2 days. And if something comes up, you can cancel up to 24 hours in advance at no cost. There are no subscriptions, no long-term commitments. You just pay per session. Grow helps you find therapy on your time. Whatever challenges you're facing, Grow Therapy is here to help. Grow accepts over 100 insurance plans, including Medicaid in some states. Sessions average about $21 with insurance, and some pay as little as $0 depending on their plan. Visit growtherapy.com/booknow to get started. That's growtherapy.com/booknow. growtherapy.com/booknow. Availability and coverage by state and insurance plan.
Why are leaders the loneliest people? Did you know that recent research suggests that the loneliest people in the world are leaders and CEOs? They're surrounded by people every day and still carry responsibilities that few others truly understand. Hello and welcome to Unbox the Podcast. I'm Sahar Huneidi Palmer, your host. When I came across this finding, I wasn't particularly surprised. If anything, it confirmed something that I have observed throughout my work with leaders, founders, executives, and business owners over the last 3 decades. Success changes many things, but it shouldn't remove our humanity. One of the things that I have noticed is that leadership can be a surprisingly lonely experience. From the outside, people often see achievement, influence, confidence, but they rarely see the responsibility, the pressure, the difficulty of decisions that need to be made that sit behind them. Many leaders become the person everyone turns to when things are uncertain. They expect to provide answers, direction, reassurance, while navigating the same uncertainty themselves. They may be supporting employees, clients, stakeholders, and family members all at once. Yet very few people stop and ask, who is supporting them? I reflect on the research behind today's episode. I found myself wondering whether loneliness is actually the issue. I think loneliness is often a symptom of something deeper. The deeper issue is disconnection. People become so focused on managing demands around them that they gradually lose touch with what is happening within them. They stop noticing how tired they are, how much pressure they're carrying, what their intuition might be telling them. Over time, they become disconnected from their needs, their own well-being, and sometimes even the reason they started their journey in the first place. That is where today's conversation begins. Because before we talk about leadership, we need to talk about the person behind the leader. One of the foundations of Unbox the Real You is understanding that everything starts with self-awareness. Before we create change in our lives or guide others to make the right decisions with confidence, we need to understand ourselves. That sounds simple, yet many highly capable people spend years developing professionally while neglecting the relationship they have with themselves. They know how to build businesses, manage teams, and solve problems, yet they struggle to recognize when they are exhausted, overwhelmed, or no longer aligned with the life they've created. I often say that life is constantly communicating with us. The challenge is not that life is silent but that we become too busy to listen. Life gives us feedback through our body, through our emotions, and through our intuition. It lets us know when something is working, when something is not, and when we are drifting away from ourselves. Many leaders ignore these signals because they're focused on solving the next problem, reaching the next goal, meeting the next deadline. Eventually, however, life finds a way to get our attention. Sometimes it arrives as exhaustion, sometimes as frustration, and sometimes as a growing sense that something feels wrong, even when it appears to be right on paper. Over the years of my work with people who looked successful from the outside, but they really felt disconnected on the inside. I remember one executive who had achieved most of what he had spent his years working towards. His business was growing, his career was progressing, people around him viewed him as very successful. Yet when we sat together, the overwhelming feeling he described was emptiness. Nothing was wrong with the business, the strategy, or the numbers. What was missing was connection with himself. He had become so focused on carrying the organization that he stopped paying attention to the person carrying it. I have seen versions of this so many times. The details change, the industry changes, and the title changes, but the patterns remain remarkably similar. People become very good at managing the external world while losing touch with themselves, with their internal world. This is why the 4 dimensions of change are important. Whenever I work with someone who feels stuck, lost, overwhelmed, or uncertain, I explore what is happening across the whole person. What is happening physically? What is happening with emotions? Which ones are ignored? What beliefs are influencing the way they see themselves and their situation? And how are these beliefs shaping the actions they take every day? What often appears to be the leadership issue turns out to be a misalignment issue. I frequently find that the body is exhausted, emotions have been neglected, and the mind is operating from beliefs that no longer serve the person or even apply to whom they have become. When these beliefs drive daily decisions, people find themselves living in ways that no longer reflect who they are or what matters to them most. This is one reason why I believe human connection has become so important. We are living in a world that is becoming increasingly automated. Artificial intelligence is transforming how we work, communicate, and even the decisions we make. Many of these developments are useful and exciting. At the same time, I think there is danger in assuming that efficiency and connection are the same thing. They are not. Technology can help us organize information, automate tasks, improve productivity.
Are you noticing your car insurance rate creep up even without tickets or claims? You're not alone. That's why there's Jerry, your proactive insurance assistant. Jerry handles the legwork by comparing quotes side by side from over 50 top insurers so you can confidently hit buy. No spam calls, no hidden fees. Jerry even tracks rates and alerts you when it's best to shop. Drivers who save with Jerry could save over $1,300 a year. Don't settle for higher rates. Download the Jerry app or visit jerry.ai/libsyn today. That's jerry.ai/libsyn.
But it cannot replace trust, empathy, wisdom, or human connection. In many ways, I believe the more advanced technology becomes, the more valuable these qualities will become. This is especially true for leaders. People don't simply respond to expertise, they respond to authenticity. They respond to trusting the person. They respond to leaders who are present enough to understand what is happening beneath the surface. That brings me to intuition. I have often described intuition as one of the most overlooked forms of intelligence. Many people imagine intuition as something separate from our daily life or different. Intuition helps us notice patterns, recognize shifts, and sense when something is no longer aligned. It works alongside logic rather than competes with it. The strongest leaders I have worked with rarely rely on logic alone. They gather information, examine facts, and think strategically, while also paying attention to what they sense on a deeper level. They may pride themselves with being pragmatic. However, intuition, creativity, and imagination are closely connected. After all, whatever we cannot imagine, we cannot realize. As we move further into an AI-driven world, I believe human capacity becomes even more important. Halfway through today's conversation, I would like to invite you to reflect on something today. Who supports you when you're supporting everyone else? How connected do you feel with yourself at this stage of your life? Are you listening to the signals of your body and your intuition? What is your intuition giving you? Or have you become so focused on what is demanded of you that you stopped paying attention to what's happening inside? If today's episode resonated with you, I invite you to visit my website, saharhuneidi.com, and explore my books, my latest ebooks, guided tools, and you will help yourself to connect with yourself. You will strengthen your self-awareness and navigate your life with greater clarity. You will find all the links in the show notes. As I prepared this episode, I kept returning to one thought. Perhaps leadership has never really been about having all the answers. Perhaps leadership is about remaining connected with ourselves, with our sense of humanness, while carrying responsibility. And to those peoples whose lives are affected by your decisions. When those connections weaken, leadership becomes heavier than needs to be. When those connections strengthen, leadership becomes more authentic, sustainable, and more human. The research tells us that many leaders feel lonely. My experience tells me that many leaders have become disconnected with themselves. The good news is this connection can be rebuilt. It begins with awareness, with paying attention, and with making relationships work for you. And this is just as important as the responsibilities you carry. As we come to the end of today's episode, I would like to leave you with a simple thought. No matter how advanced technology has become, how much artificial intelligence changes the way we work, or the fast world continues to become even more fast, our humanity remains one of the greatest strengths. Our ability to connect, care, listen, and imagine is not a weakness. It is part of what makes us effective leaders, supportive colleagues, caring partners, and compassionate human beings. Many leaders' challenges are not strategy problems, they're connection problems. And every meaningful connection begins with the relationship we have with ourselves. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Unbox the Podcast. If you have enjoyed today's conversation, please subscribe. I know many of you listen, and I'm grateful for the support. Subscribing helps the podcast to be found by more people so that they can follow these conversations. And I want to give a special shout out to podcast listeners from Manhattan, Florida, Georgia, Texas, and California. Thank you for the 30,000 downloads last month. Thank you. Until next week, have the courage to be you. Show up, stay true. See you soon.